Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 16th of July 2021 are listed on your screen. At the timestamping for these articles is given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article itself. So the first article for today's discussion is from page 7 of the Hindu newspaper. Actually, this article is more like a qualitative and comparative analysis of Indian monsoon with respect to what agriculture is going through. The context of the article says, during the southwest monsoon, which is the current monsoon season, has reduced sharply in the month of July when it is compared to the month of June, and this has actually impacted the major kharif crops. Now, because of this, what we have observed is that there is a 10% fall in the area which is sown every year when it is compared to the last 5 years. Now, this 10% fall is based on the long period average of the Indian monsoon. And because of this, there are a number of crops which have been affected, which includes your paddy, coarse cereals, pulses, and of course the oilseeds. Now, before venturing into the article itself, I will be taking this article from the perspective of mains examination, because in your General Studies paper 3, agriculture and its various components are very much important from the perspective of UPSC examination. Well, these are some of the questions. Let us start from the 2018 first. In this year, UPSC has asked a question on cropping pattern in the recent past and the changes related to that. And we all know that monsoon also causes changes in the cropping pattern in India. The next question was in 2017. This question was related to the declining of rice and wheat yield. And one of the reason is, of course, your deficit monsoon or inadequate monsoon. The question also asked on the diversification of your crops. In 2016, again, it asked on your water use efficiency, because monsoon is part of your irrigation, and here water use efficiency is important with respect to micro irrigation. And lastly, in 2016, they have directly asked the question on vagaries of nature, which of course includes your monsoon and its inadequacy. It also asked the question on your important government scheme, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So UPSC directly or indirectly, implicitly or explicitly has asked questions related to the agriculture and one or the other aspect of the Indian monsoon. Hence, we have to go through this important analysis which is given in the Hindu newspaper in order to learn more about both these concepts. Now, in the article itself, it says that the number of states which have been under the severe stress of the monsoon are the Western Uttar Pradesh, Eastern Rajasthan, Gujarat, and of course your Kerala. Now, why these states are facing the severity of the Indian monsoon? Well, the answer will be very shortly discussed in this video itself. But before that, let us know something about the Indian monsoon. Well, monsoon in general is refers to as a seasonal change in the direction of the prevailing winds of a region. So in summers or during this season, the winds are entering into India in this manner, while in the winters they enter from this northwest side. The seasonal difference is due to the difference in the temperature between the landmass and the adjacent ocean. So here you have your landmass and here you have different ocean bodies. Monsoon causes both wet and dry season throughout much of the tropics and are most often associated with the Indian Ocean. So Indian Ocean monsoon or the monsoon in the Indian Ocean is the most important and most developed pattern of reversal of the wind on this planet. Well, when it comes to the southwest summer monsoon, it is mostly attracted by the low pressure area that is caused by extreme heat of Thar Desert and adjoining region in the summer. So this is your Thar Desert. When there is a heating over this place, higher temperature creates low pressure. And this low pressure actually attracts wind from the ocean bodies. Because of this low pressure, the moisture laden winds from Indian Ocean come up to fill up the void. But because they cannot pass through the Himalayas, they are forced to rise up. As you can see, this entire chain is your Himalayan region. So the winds which are entering from this side cannot trespass the Himalayas altogether. So they get distributed, they get shifted to either direction. On right side, we have one of the highest rainfall region on the planet. It includes your Mysram, your Cherrapunji and others. And on the western side, we have rainfall in the reducing pattern. And because of this rising in the altitude, there is a formation of clouds which results in the drop in temperature and ultimately brings precipitation in different forms. So when we talk about the plain areas of North India, that is all this area, we have high rainfall probability, humid climate and torrential rainfall in the countries like India, your Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar is brought by the same summer monsoon which occurs from the month of June to September. So after entering into India, most of the time in a cyclonic pattern, the monsoon which enters from both the sides actually splits into two parts, one entering from the Western Ghats Arabian Sea branch and the other entering from the eastern part, mostly from the states of Odisha and West Bengal, where we have annual issue of tropical cyclones, maybe in the severest form possible. As per the Indian Meteorological Department, the first state which experienced the monsoon is your Kerala, and the date of entry is almost close to June 1st. However, there are many scientists who are proposing to change this date to something later on. Surprisingly, India is one state which has skewed form of rainfall distribution, where southwest monsoon covers almost 70% of the total rainfall in the country in a year. The rest 30% actually comes from your northwest monsoon or retreating monsoon, or in fact your sudden conventional rainfalls. Well, when it comes to the origin, there are many theories, including your thermal wave theory, shifting of your intertropical convergence zone, heating up of your Tibet plateau or Tibetan plateau. We also have issues related to the Madden-Julian oscillation. We have Indian Ocean dipole. We also have role of your jet stream. So, well, we will not venture into all these topics in more detail. It was just a kind of a revision in order to make you understand that how current monsoon season is functioning in India. Now, let us move towards what actually is the current situation when it comes to the cropping pattern and monsoon in India. So on the left side of your screen, you can see the current land use pattern, which is based on 2015-16 agriculture census. This is the most authentic source available in the public domain as of now. On the right, you have net sown area, which is also part of our discussion today. So let us start with the land use pattern first. You should remember this. This is important both for your prelims as well as for your mains examination. So as you can see, there are a number of colors which have been used by the authorities in order to show the kind of land use pattern which is available in India. As you can see, the red color shows your build-up area, yellow color is your Kharif crop, orange color is your Rabi, brown Zaid, green color is your triple crops or more, white is your current fallow. Then we have different forms of forest which is available across the country. We also have run in the western side, we have wasteland and other areas such as your snow cover. As you can see, there are a number of red dots in the photograph. As you can see, this is most probably Lucknow, this is your Delhi, this is your Jaipur, here we have Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore or Bengaluru, Chennai and many others. So these are your build-up areas according to the land use pattern. When it comes to the yellow color, as you can see, there are large number of areas across the country which are under your Kharif crop. There is almost every state, forgetting about the northeastern states, which have one or the other form of Kharif. And this shows that how much important is the Indian monsoon for the agriculture right now. And if monsoon goes in the deficiency mode, this much area will be affected across the country. Well, there are many other things which you should learn from this land use pattern distribution. Like in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, we have high degree of snow cover. This entire area shows the evergreen forest. This also includes the part of your northeast and some parts of your western Ghats. So if you go through the NCRTs, you will find that these are the areas which shows the evergreen forest in the country. On the other hand, we have wet deciduous forest which is situated here in the central highlands of India. We have Run of Kutch on the western side. We have Thar desert here. So all these land use pattern actually determines what kind of expectations do we have when it comes to the Indian rainfall or the monsoon season. Now, when we come to the net zone areas in 2015 and 16, well, as you can see, there is minimum area when it comes to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, while there is almost negligible in the Union Territory of Ladakh. Similarly is the case of your other Himalayan states and the northeastern state. But when it comes to the Indo-Gangetic plains or Gangetic and Brahmaputra plains, we can see that there is a very high density of net zone area in the country. The net zone area also reduces on the western side, as you can see in the state of Rajasthan and Gujarat. And similarly, wherever we have high degree of rainforest, tropical rainforest or evergreen forest are also the areas where we have limited or the least amount of net zone area. This include your western Ghats. This also have your central uplands. This also include your some of the small hills and of course your other rainforest areas. With this in place, let us understand what is the current situation. As you can see, because of the deficiency in the monsoon, there is also a percentage change in the sown area from the average of 2016 to 20. Now, whatever net sown area which we have just seen in the map is going through an important change because of the monsoon deficiency. As you can see, the paddy is the most important and the most suffering crop from the monsoon, especially from the states like Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan, West Bengal and many others. And surprisingly, Bihar is the state which has the highest severity when it comes to the monsoon, minus 43%. Similarly are the cases with the coarse cereals, pulses and the oil seeds. So this data can help you to make a very important analysis when it comes to the argument making in the mains examination. Because as an examiner, everybody will appreciate your point when you put important data along with the arguments. So this table will definitely help you to shape your argument when it comes to Indian monsoon and agriculture. Now, after understanding the current situation from this table, I will also write the example of West Bengal when it comes to the coarse cereal, because the same West Bengal is having problem in paddy but not in your coarse cereal. Now, I will also take the example of Tamil Nadu, because now summer monsoon is not that much efficient when it comes to Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu is the state which receives rainfall mostly in the month of December and January. Because of that, the deficiency in this state in these months is very low. So these kind of examples are very good to quote in the mains examination. Now let us see how it is done on the map. This map is based from your NCRT, so it is completely authentic map. You can trust every data available on this map. So as you can see, the check design shows the highest possible rainfall. They are situated on the either side of India, that is on the western side, on western coast and in Arunachal Pradesh and northeastern areas. The darkest possible color or the black color here includes your Cherrapunji, and here it includes your western part of your Western Ghat. On the other, the darkest possible zones like Rajasthan, Gujarat, most of your Deccan area, because it lies on the other side of Western Ghats, and because of that, the monsoon actually travels parallelly to the Western Ghats. And this is one of the reasons why Deccan area does not receive higher ratio of rainfall. Now let us compare this map with the table. It says that Bihar has a high deficiency. From the map we learn that Bihar receives high rainfall. Not very high, but when it comes to average one, it receives high. So when a particular state receive high rainfall, it will also go through the high deficiency. It means that if Rajasthan is receiving, let's say 100 centimeter and they are getting a fall of 10%, on the other hand, if Bihar is receiving 200 centimeter and falling the same 10% loss, The loss of Bihar is more than that of Rajasthan. And this is something which we are observing in this table and in this map. So, as we have seen, the rainfall in this monsoon actually moves from southeast direction to the northwest direction in the decreasing mode. And this is the reason why western part of India does not receive high rainfall. And in fact, the area or the desert in Rajasthan receive less than or around 20 centimeter of rainfall annually. After going through the analysis, the detailed analysis, map work and context, let us go into what are the actual issues which are involved when it comes to the deficient rainfall in India and agriculture. So, we all know that 70% of India's population is dependent on agriculture or the other allied activities, either directly or indirectly. So, you can imagine that the deficiency in the rainfall would impact almost 70% of India's population. Around 58% of the total employment in the country is through agriculture. Now, some of the data may say it is around 52%. But when you include the allied services, when you also include the secondary or the tertiary services which are associated with the agriculture, the data will come out to be 58%. Agriculture sector in a country also contribute to the 18% of the GDP. So if the monsoon is deficient, this contribution will also fall. And this is the reason that whenever we have deficient rainfall in the country, the agriculture growth comes out to be around 1 to 2%, sometimes even in the negative values. The fate of the Kharif crop depends on the performance of the southwest monsoon, which we have already discussed in detail. So poor monsoon means poor Kharif crop. Crop failure and the deficient rainfall is one of the big reasons for farmer suicide across the country, especially when you take the case of Bundelkhand, Marathwada and Saurashtra. Now, where these areas are situated? They are situated in the Uttar Pradesh, areas of Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Now, we all know that when the farmer's output goes up, it creates demand for the consumer goods as well as raise the rural income. However, when there is a deficiency of the monsoon, the reverse actually happens. And what it creates the fall of income of the farmer, forgetting about how doubling of the income or the farmer's income is achieved. Normal monsoon rain also keep a check on the food inflation due to availability of food produce. However, in the drought area, there is a price soar or there is a sudden rise in the prices of food products. The cost of living also tend to reach new high because see what happens, the scarcity of the food products actually destabilizes the rural economy altogether, which increases the price of the product and they becomes out of the reach of common man or the poor sections of the society. It also impacts dozens of other sectors which depends on the monsoon. Take for example the sugar cane. Now, if there is a deficiency of the sugar cane or the production of the sugar cane, there will be a deficiency in the production of ethanol. There will be a deficiency in the production of paper industry, pulp industry. There will be a deficiency in the production of alcohol and other related beverages. So, one industry or the one sector, which is agriculture, is suffering from the monsoon does not mean that others are enjoying. It is like a chain reaction. Little over 50% of India's net sown area is under irrigation, is under rain-fed farming. We have already discussed that. And because of the less or the deficit monsoon, what we have is the pressure on the groundwater extraction from bore well and other sources. And this is the possible reason why, because of the falling in rainfall, states like Haryana and Punjab will soon have water crisis in the future. And no wonder that this crisis may extend to other states as well. Multiple crop failures may result the government to actively support farmers, as we are part of a welfare state. So Indian government and of course the state governments come up to help the farmers. But because of the political vendetta and because of the rhetorics, what we see are farm loan waivers. Farm loan waivers are economically bad but politically very good. Farm loan waiver, well, farm loan waiver is itself a long issue to discuss, but farm loan waiver should be used as the last resort, that too with those people who cannot survive without this. The other peripheral issues also include that less monsoon means less storage of water, hence less hydropower. And lastly, poor monsoon also leads to the indebtedness of small and marginal farmers because they take lots and lots of risk by the institutional credit. And once the crop goes into failure, they end up having high debt on their families. Now, going through these major issues, well, I would suggest that you can add n number of other issues as well. Let us look into what possible way forward we can add in order to sustain the Indian agriculture despite the monsoon failure. Well, first of all, we need a crop insurance to all the farmers at rational rates and quick claim ratio. This was something which, well, this was an issue which was faced by Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, and well, government is also looking into to remove all the deficiencies of the scheme. We also require diversification of the allied services which are attached to the agriculture and also employment generation thereon. Allied services here means your animal husbandry, your horticulture, and many other activities, including your fishing, which can support farmer in such kind of deficient situations. We also require crop diversification. For instance, if a farmer is growing sugarcane on a particular field and there is a deficiency of the rainfall, he should have luxury, he should have that choice so that he can grow any other crop possibly. And apart from that, we also require drought resistant crops through research and development. We also require development of the inter-river linking project. The best example is your Ken-Betwa river project, which is going on in the areas situated closer to the Bundelkhand. And this interlinking of the river will definitely bring more irrigation water to those fields which have been dependent on the Indian monsoon. We also require price stabilization schemes, and that too can be extended to many other crops. We also require income security of the farmers through temporary MSP support. Now, MSP is already in place, but whenever there is a situation of monsoon deficiency, government can provide a smaller 5 or 10% extra MSP incentive to the farmers over and above the regular prices. We also require extension on the national agriculture marketings to prevent the wastage of the food items. So when there is a surplus in one area and there is a deficiency in the other area which is under the deficit monsoon, what we can do is we can create a national agriculture market more efficient. Although we already have ENAM kind of initiative, but some of the states are reluctant to participate in this initiative enthusiastically. Next, we'll need better monsoon predictions, as we have been seeing in the case of cities like Mumbai and Chennai, where the latest technology have been used like iFlows in order to predict the best monsoon or rainfall possibilities. We also require traditional rainwater harvesting system. Take the case of Zincs, we have Johars, we have Bawris, we have bamboo irrigation and whatnot. This provides the storage of water, and that stored water can be used for the agriculture purposes when there is a deficiency of rainfall. And lastly, we should develop a climate resilience, where we should have climate resilience agriculture. Apart from this, we should also focus on organic farming where water usage is minimum. Well, you can use other n number of way forwards in order to provide a better solution to Indian agriculture during the state of deficient monsoon. With this, now I'll leave you to this practice question. And before moving to the next article for the day, I would like to give you some hints to solve this question. The question says, how far do you agree? Now, how far do you agree means you have to put the counter view also. Now, how far do you agree that monsoon determines the agriculture performance in India? Now, we have discussed n number of points. We have all the data, map work, everything possible to write how monsoon determines the Indian agriculture performance. Apart from that, you have to also list down 2-3 other points which determines the performance of the Indian agriculture. And here you can write the case of credit, here you can write the case of marketing, infrastructure, cold storage, exports, and many other points. Can the existing issues be resolved? Yes. Always say yes, because you are a positive thinking potential bureaucrat. So say yes. Identify the measures. We have already listed down n number of measures. You can use them and you can descriptively write a good answer. With this, now let us move to the next article for the day. This article was published on page 8 of the Hindu newspaper Delhi edition, and it talks about the recent move which was taken by Ministry of Civil Aviation. The ministry actually released a draft on drone rules, and drone here means UAVs, for public consultation until August 5th. Now, these are some of the following rules which we will discuss shortly, and these rules were released for public consultation in order to provide the insights and tips to make it more efficient. Now, why government is doing that? We already have certain drone related rules in the country, and recently there was also a move to bring more comprehensive rules in the month of March that has already been covered in the previous DNS. Now, why we require a change? First, to make rules user friendly and to encourage the drone research and development. Now, what we are observing right now in country is that the drone production or the domestic or the indigenization of the drones is very, very limited. Government is looking for those players who can come forward with the technological development and, of course, the research background to develop the drone industry in the country, the brands which can produce drone technology in the country so as to make them more cheaper, accessible and affordable. Secondly, government also want to realize the vision of India as a drone hub. Well, this is a keyword. You can use these kind of keywords in your main sensor writing as well. You just have to add a suffix of hub. Like India would like to become a coal hub. India would like to become a power hub. India would like to become a mobile hub. India would like to become a IT hub. So these kind of words actually add up a flavor to your answer in the main answer writing. So these kind of keywords will definitely help you to write better. Now, what these new rules or draft rules says? First of all, you does not require any approval for the research and development on the drones. Secondly, these approvals will not be required by any educational institution. So if you are working, let's say you are a part of IIT Delhi or maybe IIT Mumbai and you are developing a drone. So you does not require any sort of approvals for that. So any institutional which is recognized by union governments, state governments, or in fact the union territories, any startup recognized by Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, and lastly drone manufacturing which are having GST identification numbers. So all these people will not require any kind of approval. This is a sigh of relief to the drone manufacturer. Secondly, the new rules also encourage the individual manufacturer. Why? Because this will help to make India a drone hub. It also says that the imports of the drones and its components will be regulated by Director General of Foreign Trade. So now what government is doing is that they are considering the drones and their components to be a part of a consumer good rather than a security challenge. And this will definitely help in more usage, more user-friendly implementation of the regulation of the drones. Next rule says that Quality Council of India and many authorities which are certified by it will issue these certificates for the drones. Earlier it was the Director General of Civil Aviation, and that was the reason that the drone or the industry for the drone could not be developed as such as it was required to be developed in India. Well, the regulation was taking a hit on the development of these industries, and because of that, drones were considered to be a security challenge in India rather than a mode to develop the country. Take for instance, drone can be used for your traffic purposes or traffic management. Drone can also be used for your medicine supply. They can be used for your disaster management. These kind of topics are good for your GS paper 3 as well. If drones have n number of beneficial uses, why should government consider it to be a security challenge? And this is the reason why government is coming up with a new draft rules. It also says that there will be no restrictions for foreign-owned companies registered in India, even if they does not have any business operations. So now they can also come, they can put their research and development plants, they can produce drones in India and sell it in India. It will also help in Make in India program. Government has also taken an initiative like ease of doing business because they have reduced the number of forms which is required for the authorization from 25 to just 6. They have left out 19 other forms which were required previously. And lastly, drones will also not need any security clearance before the registration or the license issues. Now, all these steps will definitely help us to make India a possible drone hub. With this, now I will take you to the important question attached to this article. So, read the question carefully and answer in the comment box. This article was published on page 3rd of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper, and this article actually talks about a recent small controversy which came up between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the Chief Minister or the government of Delhi. Now, the thing which has actually happened is that the Delhi's Lieutenant Governor has rejected a panel of lawyers which was selected by the Delhi government to provide relief to the farmers who have been arrested while protesting against the three central laws around the Delhi's border. And Delhi government has been asked by the Lieutenant Governor to give cabinet approval to the panel of lawyers suggested by the Delhi police. Well, Delhi police comes under the administrative control of the union government, and Lieutenant Governor is also under the control of the president, who is part of the union government. So it is more like a forced order on the Delhi government, which is an elected body and enjoying the sovereign in the national capital territory. The most important issue is the recently amendment act related to Delhi has made the situation more severe with respect to the government of Delhi. Now, Delhi or the National Capital Territory is governed under the Article 239AA of the Indian Constitution, which has granted it to be a special status holder among the Union territories since 1999 after 69th Constitutional Amendment. This amendment has actually provided a legislative assembly. It has around 70 members and a council of ministers responsible to such assembly. The Council of Ministers does not hold the 15% of the assembly, they are around 10% of the total strength. This is an exemption to already existing strength in Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. This article actually says that public order, police, and land in Delhi fall within the domain and the control of central government, which can make rules in this regard. However, for the remaining of the matters, state list and the concurrent list, Legislative Assembly of the Delhi will make laws or will enjoy the powers. Now, these three important topics are under the actual issue, and as these subjects are under the Lieutenant Governor and the central government, the current controversy arises because the matter is related to the public order, police, and land, where Lieutenant Governor not need an aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So when Lieutenant Governor has rejected the panel of lawyer, it is because he is taking the decision related to the police and public order in the area of Delhi. It is not related to any other issues like the water supply in Delhi, or maybe the transportation in Delhi, or maybe the electricity or other education related matter. So, the matters which are explicitly mentioned in Article 239AA falls under the power of LG. So, in that regard, we can say that whatever Lieutenant Governor is doing is not unconstitutional, or it does not void any particular constitution provisions. However, the matter has taken a political tone because the rejection of these lawyers has been seen as the interference of the central government in the administration of the Delhi government, which in turns is saying that the lawyers which were selected by the Delhi government were more honest, straightforward, and had the experience of fighting for the social cause, and the lawyers which have been selected by the Delhi police, ultimately by the central government and the lieutenant government, are pro-biased. And this controversy has also aggravated because of the recently Amendment Act, which is the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2021. It is not a new act, it has been an amendment act to the already existing legislation since 1991. Now, what it has provided, why it has become a matter of controversy? Although this has been discussed in much details in the previous DNS, so we will try to keep it as short as possible for a matter of revision. First, it has provided for the term government, and government here only means the lieutenant governor. So wherever, whatever law the Legislative Assembly of Delhi will make, if a word government is used in that act, that word will definitely represent the lieutenant governor only. The previous act of 1991 actually provided a power to the Legislative Assembly to make rules for its own conduct of business. But the amendment says that whatever conduct of business is undertaken in the Union Territory of Delhi should be based similar to the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha. So they have equalized the conduct of business and rule procedure between center and this Union Territory. The amendment has also prohibited, actually completely restricted, the Legislative Assembly to make rules on anything related to day-to-day administration of Delhi, conduct of any inquiry in relation to the administrative decisions, and also make all such rules to be void through this amendment. It means if the government of Delhi wants to make any rule for day-to-day administration, let us say regarding the functioning of the officer, transfer of the officer, or any other administrative matter, they cannot do that any longer. And lastly, the amendment requires the lieutenant government to reserve those bills, like the governor reserves in any particular state in India, for the president, which incidentally, see the word incidentally is here controversial, which incidentally covers any of the matter outside the purview of the powers of Legislative Assembly. The word is outside. So if Legislative Assembly goes beyond its jurisdiction, LG will have power to reserve that bill for President's consideration. This article was published on page 8 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the recent meet which was conducted between the India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar and the Ghani from Afghanistan. Well, the context says that because of the Taliban's gaining territories in Afghanistan, which we have already discussed under the recent DNS, which were taken up by Mangal sir, and because of the US troops withdrawal, India has become more concerned about the security in the region. Because as we know that between 1996 to 2001, Taliban was in the majority in the Afghanistan. And these were the years when hijacking of the Indian plane, proxy terrorism in Kashmir were very high in numbers. And 2001 was the year when parliamentary attack in India was conducted. So there is a high degree of terrorism development in the state of Afghanistan. It will have negative repercussions on India as well. And this was the reason why these two important leaders met to discuss this matter. Well, this was the first high-level meeting between India and the Kabul. Kabul is the capital of Afghanistan. Since the government decided to pull out all Indian personnel from the consulate in Kandahar. Well, sometimes Kandahar is also named from the letter Q. Now, recently India has done this. They have pulled out all their personnel from the consulate. Why? Because of the security concern. Because USA is out now. And because of their exit, Taliban is becoming powerful day by day. Apart from meeting Ghani, Jaishankar has also met people from your United States to discuss the possibility of having an American military base in one of the Central Asian countries, including Uzbekistan. Now, what does it mean? If they have a base in Uzbekistan and something goes out of hand in the state of Afghanistan, there will be an easy access to these forces to control the menace. Apart from this, India has also promised to continue India's humanitarian assistance in the state of Afghanistan with a gift of 150,000 tons of wheat. Now, how this wheat will arrive to Afghanistan? Well, there are two routes, and apart from that, we will also discuss the important location on Afghanistan map. As you must have seen in the past DNS videos as well, that Afghanistan was taken up through very details. The same will be conducted even today. So there is a very high possibility that in near future, in the upcoming prelim examination, UPSC may ask question from the places located in Afghanistan. So as you can see, we have taken the political map of Afghanistan. So let us look at the important places which were in the news for various reasons. From top, we'll start from Kunduz, where recently Taliban has conducted a raid and they have captured the border areas. Mazar-e-Sharif has already been in the news and was, of course, UPSC's favorite. Then we have Herat, where India has been investing very extensively. We have Farha, we have Zarang. Zarang is an important area where we have linkages between India, Iran, and Afghanistan. Apart from that, we also have Kandahar. So, in southeast direction, you can see that the area of Afghanistan is shared with the border of Pakistan. And this is the area where we have the largest number of Baluch related activities or the terrorism between the Taliban and the Baluch tribes of Pakistan. And this was the area which was also news for the encroachment by Taliban. Apart from these areas, there are other places such as Bamiyan, which is very, very famous from the perspective of your Buddhism. We have Kabul, which is also the capital area of the country. The area which is situated on the northeast direction of Afghanistan is densely populated, and this area is also mostly under control of the legitimate government of Afghanistan. While the area on the other side, that is on the western side and the southwestern side, is mostly under the Taliban rule. The one more important thing in the map of Afghanistan is this small area, which is also known as Wakhan or Wakhan corridor. If POK does not exist at all, this area will border the Union territory of Ladakh in India. With this, now I'll take you to the important question attached to this article. So read the question carefully and answer in the comment box. With this, now we'll move to the last article for the day. This article was published on page 9 of the Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and says that India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Chinese Minister has actually been differing on what should be the way forward between India-China ties. Well, we will not venture into more about India's China ties because that has already been covered under multiple DNS videos previously. What we will look into is the context which was made both by India and China and what is SCO or Shanghai Cooperation Organization from the prelims perspective. Both the nations have agreed that neither should take a unilateral action, and unilateral action here simply means anything which is related to waging a war on its neighbor. Now, when it comes to the differences which was aired during this meeting, the first one was related to the recent border dispute. India has said that whatever happened last year on the LAC has actually inevitably affected India's ties despite the commitments under 1993 and 1996 agreements. On the other side, like always, China has said that responsibility does not lie with Chinese side. It has time and again emphasized that whatever has happened on LAC was because of India's intrusion on its land. China has said and retreated that the boundary should be kept in an appropriate position from what it has been perceived. And like many other countries, they have made a diplomatic rhetoric to expand the positive momentum of bilateral cooperation and create favorable conditions for resolving differences through negotiation. See, the point is that China is nowhere accepting the fact that they had made a unilateral attack on India's forces who were on their patrolling duty on LAC. And apart from this, China is also building up the concrete bunkers along the LAC in order to boost up its own infrastructure. All these moves actually makes India more apprehensive towards China's move on LAC and assuming that in the near future China can become more aggressive, because what has happened in the case of Doklam was repeated in the case of Ladakh, and in the near future it can become more severe. The second area of difference was related to the assessment of how to tackle the remaining issues on LAC. On this, India has said the success on the Pangyong leg has laid down the condition to solve the remaining issues. Apart from this, India has also said in order to get the normalcy in the tide, there need to be a disengagement and de-escalation along the border. On the other side, as usual, China has not referred to any remaining issues. See, China does not consider LAC to be an issue. Although China says that LAC is not demarcated, but it never says the area which it has controlled or which it is controlling right now is part of India. Hence, China does not consider it to be an issue. On the other side, China considered the boundary or McMahon line to be a matter of concern. So when it comes to the Ladakh, China does not find any issue, and this makes China a more proactive in attacking the other forces, including the Indian paramilitary and the defense forces, time and again. And this is the reason why the engagement or the talks, or in fact the diplomatic meetings between both the nations remain unresolved. With this keeping in mind, let us move to the important prelim pointers when it comes to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, on the sideline of which these two people met. Well, it is a permanent intergovernmental international organization, so it is not a part of NGO. It focuses on political, economic, and military organization. So, no climate change, no environmental concern, no donations, or no other energy related matters. It aims to maintain peace, security, and stability. But the important point is that no member in SCO has actually raised up the issue of border between India and China. Neither they have raised any issue related to the Pakistan sponsored terrorism in the areas of Jammu and Kashmir. And this is the important matter. See, India, China, and Russia are important members of this organization, apart from Pakistan. But despite that, none of these nations have actually raised the point of terrorism suffered by India. This organization was created in 2001, signed in 2002, and enforced in 2003. The official languages are Russian and Chinese. The members are as follows: Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India, and lastly, Pakistan. The observer state includes your Afghanistan, Belarus, Iran, and Mongolia. The genesis of this organization is that prior to the creation of SCO in 2001, the Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan were the member of Shanghai 5, which is also part of your Shanghai Pact. The Shanghai 5 1996 emerged as a series of border demarcation and demilitarization talks. So the rise or the basis or the genesis of SCO was the demilitarization and demarcation which the four former Soviet republics held with China. It also followed the accession of Uzbekistan in 2001, and the Shanghai was now named as SCO. So UPSC may ask that which of the following organization was erstwhile or previously called as Shanghai 5. India and Pakistan joined this organization formally in 2017. With these facts in place, let us look into the important question attached to this article. So read the question carefully and answer in the comment box. With this now guys, we come to the end of the discussion and I'll leave you with the question of the day.